Well, welcome to the latest edition of the Business Spotlight podcast series. I'm joined today by Helen Vane, and Helen is the owner and the founder of gogecko Recruitment. So welcome to the call, Helen. It's good to see
Thank you, Gavin. It's lovely to be here.
And I just managed to say gogecko without stumbling over it. So
you did amazing.
Helen, tell us a little bit about your business, what it is that you do, and why you do it.
So I've been in recruitment for over 25 years. I've been running gogecko for 8, and I set up gogecko to give small and medium-sized companies the same clout as larger organizations who have massive talent teams. So we act as an internal recruiter without the ongoing commitment to us, and really get to know businesses under their skin of what they do, so that we can provide the best possible service and also match really, really effectively as well.
Okay, what do you mean by that in terms of match effectively?
So we're very, very keen on retention. So we want to encourage people to stay in the companies that they choose to go and work with. So because for us, small and medium-sized business owners spend a lot of money and time and resource in training people and looking to keep people, and they want to keep people at least longer term.
Yes, I totally understand and recognize that. I mean, I work with various business owners, and one of their biggest fears, I suppose, around recruitment and possibly recruitment itself is a big fear, particularly if you've got a small team. But one of them is that you're going to not find the right person in the first place. And then secondly, that they won't stay once you have. So it's you're obviously you've found an interesting niche there, and retainment is important. So tell me a little bit about how you work with business owners on the retainment side of things, the retention side of things.
We get to know our clients really, really well. We look at their values, we look at what motivates them, and we also look at the internal function, because quite often there's a knee-jerk reaction to recruitment. It's like, oh my goodness, someone's left, or we need this position filled. But there's not necessarily a thought process that goes through with exactly what are we looking for? Why are we looking for that? Is there someone internally who could fulfill that need, who maybe wants a promotion, and then we backfill that role instead? So it's really making sure that there's a proper business case for the role in the first place, and then going out to market with all the information and selling that business as an employer of choice with their values, what they bring to the market, all the information and background story about them as a business. So we act as we call ourselves the wing women. So we are their wing women. At the moment, we have an all-female team. That might change. But at the moment, we're all wing women on this. I think we're recording this on International Women's Day as well. So we do back our clients 150%, but also we're very keen to match values. It's not just about skills for us. It's about values and motivators. And by doing that, and by doing some very in-depth work with our candidates before they even go to interview, you're much more guaranteed a really close match, and those people will stay, and it's an investment.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think sometimes in conversations I've had about, when you're marketing, not just to find customers, but you're marketing to find and recruit your team, the values are really, really important, and people matching with who you are. So you're not just bringing somebody in who's seeing this as an opportunity, perhaps to, pay their mortgage, pay their way, etc., but actually to come into a job and an environment that they're going to fit well in, or possibly excuse themselves or qualify themselves out from the process because they're not a good match.
And that is why the other thing that we do that no other agency does, as far as I know, is we advertise for our clients. So when we market a role, we make sure that their story is part of that marketing, and we brand market it and we showcase them. And that's a risk to us because other agencies get hold of that information and can then contact the client. But our relationships are very strong, and we do that deliberately because it's a value to the client, and also it's a value to the candidate because they then can, as you've just said, exclude themselves from the process if that client doesn't float their boat. But on the flip side of it, they come to us really much more prepared, much more researched, and on a better playing field than a candidate who just sees something that's random out in the market and is kind of chancing their arm.
I think that clearly, I mean, in your answer there, you've clearly demonstrated your own values, and you've highlighted the threat of maybe some competitor coming in, but that at best would be an imitation of what you do. And an imitation is not the same thing as the real thing. So I think you're on your good ground there. The other thing that really struck me is that when you were describing earlier about how you work with the client, it sounds very much like you're a critical friend. They've got their ideas about what it is they think they need, but you're going in and saying, hang on a moment, let's just dig a little bit deeper on this. Are you sure that this is what you mean? I think that's the process you're effectively describing to help them get the sort of dynamic of what it is they're looking for, who they're looking for together.
Yeah, completely. And, sometimes that process has already been done because they have critically thought about it. But we sense check to make sure that, the process is smooth for candidates as well. Because if they suddenly go, oh, actually, we're not sure we want that anymore, we want this.
Yeah.
It creates, it's not very good if you've already put out the brand marketing for those clients and they're changing their mind mid-process. Yeah. So it's because candidates see that. It's a little bit like selling a house and that house keeps going back on the market under different guises. Yeah. Candidates become very disengaged. Yeah. So it's about making sure that engagement is very high from the offset.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it seems to me, as part of the critical friend role, you're differentiating yourself from your competition. I can imagine many recruitment firms will think, look, let's not muddy the waters here. Let's not rock the boat. Let's just, they've got a need. We can fill it. Let's just get on with it. But you're actually perhaps almost in the mind of others putting yourself at some risk of losing the client by saying, we're not just going to accept what you want us to do. We need to have a chat with you first so that we can get it right.
Absolutely. And also there are lots of businesses out there who are still very much looking at the agency model like it used to be in the 80s, where there was so much work going on that it recruitment was cheap as chips, and it was very transactional in that kind of a bum on a seat and then you move on to the next one. But we are very much more about the longevity of a candidate from a candidate's point of view as well as a client's point of view. So we act very much on the seesaw of each side being balanced and then creating a really good opportunity for both parties.
Yeah. And you built a team around you that's a small team that can enable you to do that. So are there challenges in terms of growing your business from this model? Because what you've described sounds really quite personal and attentive and intensive. How are you going to overcome the challenge of, perhaps scaling up or scaling out? Or
do you know what, Gavin? That's a really interesting question, because that is an issue with the kind of service that we offer. And I have already, I have made my own mistakes in recruitment, which is why I want to not to happen for our clients, because I've felt the pain. So, I have, gone out and bought someone on to replace me, and it hasn't really worked. But I think I learned a lot from that process, and what we're doing a lot of work on is processing out what our value is, so that even if I'm still involved at the high touch end, there's lots of things going on in the background to make sure that we still deliver, but it's maybe not me and my very small team delivering. It's more than that. And looking at partners as well. We've got an apprenticeship partner. We've got a couple of HR partners. So we're presenting a bigger solution to our clients, so that we, so we are looking at various models of the way to grow. But you're absolutely right. Delivering a really high level, high touch service has a lot of risk attached to it from a growth perspective.
I love the honesty of your answer. And you're right. It's a kind of a physician heal thyself type thing, isn't it? I have worked with marketing clients as marketing companies as clients who've been really good at marketing for their clients, but have really struggled to do so for themselves. And it comes down to the three hats that we wear, the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. And they don't always fit so comfortably in our own organization as perhaps they do in others. So I really love the honesty of that. And I've yet to do a podcast where I've spoken to an owner who hasn't made mistakes. Most interestingly, they want to learn from them and move on from them. and that's a really important part of it, isn't it?
I would say in the last 8 years, I've been on the biggest learning curve of my entire career. Just like it's been intense, immense, and brilliant, all rolled into one. So,
and that's despite the years of previous experience in the industry before you became a business owner.
I think what the previous years have done is that they laid the foundation of the kind of service I was going to deliver. I was very, very well trained in high touch service in recruitment. And I've just layered on my own take on those on that service. But I'm very grateful for the training I received, but it hasn't helped me run a business in the slightest.
No, and that's a story that most business owners will recognise themselves in. Helen, you've shared some really interesting ideas with us today, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you so much for yours, Gavin. It's been really lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.